Fern. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network, ESPN 94.9, The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a Tuesday that is Election Day, among other things. If you have not voted yet, let me be the latest in a series of people to say, get out and vote. Regardless of who it is, there are a lot of people that have fought for our country for this right, the ability to do this in a free country. And it's really a pretty easy process. So please, between now and the polls closing at 7, get out and vote. Let's go to Murfreesboro. Say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. How you doing?
Good. Good. Have you voted?
You know I have. Have you?
I have. That's what
Okay.
That's what that little doohickey is. Says I voted
today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Billy,
George,
Did
have you voted?
I did. Big day.
Are you old enough to vote?
Yes, of course.
Do you look old enough to vote? Not so much.
Big day for our country.
Did they ask for an ID?
Yes, they did. I got carded.
Really? Wow.
But college football playoff rankings.
There's a lot going on.
NFL trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
What else going on?
Well, let's just get right to it then. We begin the show during football season with Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update. Terry, unless you know something I don't, the Titans have not made any moves today.
No, doesn't look like. There were some reports out there that were thrown out by the usual suspects on the national level that they had fielded some calls for Harold Landry, for Arden Key, for Sebastian Joseph Day, for Jeffrey Simmons. But as of right now, with the deadline having passed, unless something has happened in the last few seconds and is just now being reported, the Titans are standing pat with what they have, it looks like.
Are you surprised at that?
Well, I think they had already, siphoned off a couple of pieces, with moving DeAndre Hopkins and Ernest Jones. And one of the things that Rand Carthon had said, when these moves were going on, and got the chance to chat with him about it, he said that they need 8 draft picks in order to try and relay the foundation of this franchise. And they came into the year with only 5 picks, and they've made enough deals now that they have the 8. So they feel like that, they can move forward and have enough picks to be able to do what it is they want to do in the offseason. So maybe they felt like that unless somebody overwhelmed them with something, that they didn't need to make another move out there for more draft capital.
Some of this, Terry, as you well know, meets with some skepticism because there's a reason that they have sucked, and that is their drafts have sucked. They really have gotten very few people draft-wise in the last 5 to 10 years, and that's why they're in this position.
Sure. I mean, they went from 2020 through 2022 and don't really have a single impact player on the roster. They've got a few guys that contribute that are decent contributors, like Roger McCreary, like Dylan Radins, like Chiga Okonkwo, and a couple of others that fit that. But they really, the last impact players, I should say, that this team drafted in that time span from probably Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown. And they don't have A.J. Brown anymore. So, I think they're hoping that, that the new regime and the new system that they're putting in, that some of these guys that they've drafted in the last 2 years, maybe, a J.C. Latham, maybe some of these other guys that they took in, Skoronski, maybe even Levis will pan out, and they can help lay the foundation for what's out there. And that you really, it's like, with anything else, it's like when you have a great recruiting class in college football and you bring in a bunch of 4 and 5-star freshmen. Well, generally it takes laying another class or two underneath that, so that by the time those guys are juniors, that's when you're really ready to roll, because you've not only got starters who can play, but then you'll have depth that can come in and help fill out the problems. Part of the problem is they don't have any depth. You see that by the train wreck that special teams has been. And they also, they haven't had enough impact starters pan out either. So when you combine those two things, that's why it's where it is.
But a lot of their special team stuff, Terry, is avoidable. If you know you suck as bad as they have, kick the ball through the end zone, punt the ball out of bounds, and be done with it.
Sure. I don't disagree with that at all.
But why can't they figure that out?
Your guess is as good as mine. I guess they want to keep on working on it and trying to get it right, which I respect that to a certain point, but you also got to not put your team in jeopardy and cost your team games with terrible special teams play that flips the field and gives up unnecessary points.
Did you vote today?
I did. I voted
Excellent.
I voted for the Yankees to keep Juan Soto as well.
Yeah. Don't
Terry
you think
George
if
just
he was
Terry George just wants the special teams coordinator fired from the Titans. I don't understand why he holds this grudge against the poor fella, but he does.
He's not alone in that regard, but then again, the last special teams coordinator, everybody wanted him fired too, and then it finally happened. And so be careful what you wish for, I guess.
The revolving door.
Terry, here's a thought to end it.
Yes.
If Juan Soto were going to be a Yankee, he would have already signed by now.
That is not true. He wants to test the market to see what it is that he is worth. Why would you? I know that, George, with the money that you make, this is chump change, but why would you accept $500 million when you can get $600 million?
Basically it goes to Uncle Sam.
Yes.
When you get to that point.
So there you go.
Okay. I think our usefulness is over, Terry. You and I can retire to the. We can retire.
I figured our usefulness was over months ago.
Hey, talk to you tomorrow.
See ya.
Billy, what is your level of usefulness?
It's another great update.
Really?
Brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. George, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but the Preds lose again. They're now 4-7-1 on the season after a 3-0 loss to the LA Kings last night.
We are going to talk about it at 4:20, and I'll start it with this. Season ticket holders, who are the lifeblood of the NHL, are getting pissed. This team just completed a 3-game homestand, and in 2 of them brought nothing, and I mean nothing, to the table.
Also last night, the Chiefs beat the
Pretty
Bucks.
upbeat, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs beat the Bucks 30-24 in overtime. Andy Reid was asked if he was surprised that Todd Bowles didn't go for 2 after their late touchdown. He said no, he wasn't surprised, but I'm glad he didn't.
Kelly, I was shocked that he didn't go for 2.
Well, I don't know. Is it, do you think about, well, nowadays the extra point is not a given either, because it's so far away. So if you got an opportunity to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, that's a tough decision, George. It really is, because you want to, I don't know, man. You want to try to get it to overtime and maybe think something. But if it's me and I'm playing the Chiefs, I got an opportunity to beat them. I'm going to be the Dan Campbell, and I'm going to say, hey, we're going for it right now. And, it's got to be like a diplomacy deal. Like, bring everybody together and say, we want to win it right now. I know that that's tough to say, but I know that coaches sometimes think they're dictators, but you have to have a majority vote. And I don't know. I think that I would have gone for it. I know that I would have gone for it because you got a chance to beat Kansas City at Kansas City. If you go into overtime, that's giving those guys just another opportunity to win the game, and that's what they did.
So do you think that decision, most of the time when it pops up in an NFL game, do you think that decision has been made truthfully earlier in the week, or is it really made right then and there?
George, that's a good question, man. I've never really thought about that. I think you have to think about things like that. And I think if you know your team and you know your coaching staff, and your coaching staff probably knows you, like, bring Dan Campbell up again. Like, everybody knows he's going for 2. Everybody knows it. But I don't know if I've ever asked a coach that or ever thought about that. Or I'm sure during the game, they're like, if we get this and we're going for 2. So, man, that's a good question, George. I've never really thought about that, but I'm sure if you're the Nick Sabans of the world who has the staff meetings, and everybody has staff meetings, I'm sure that's discussed at some time. Yes.
Baker Mayfield's reaction after the coin toss was awarded to the Chiefs. Tells you everything you need to know. That's why you go for 2. Because if you don't win the toss, it's over.
They were both at Texas Tech together. And in fact, it turns out that
they both played under Cliff Kingsbury, right?
Cliff Kingsbury.
I believe I'm right that that Baker Mayfield
walked on,
hosted. I think it's one or the other. So one of them hosted the other.
It had to have been
on the recruiting visit
Mahomes.
at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
But Billy, you're right. He was a walk-on at Texas Tech. He was a walk-on at Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, and Baker. For them to be in the game, I think the Bucs they don't have any receivers. I think they're still a good team. He did everything they could, especially in the wet conditions. But the Chiefs are now 8-0.
And Atlanta is about to run off with Tampa Bay's division because Atlanta owns the tiebreaker. They've beaten Tampa twice.
Yep. ATL. The Commanders acquired Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. That's a big pickup for them in their chase for winning their division. Also, the Jets traded wide receiver Mike Williams to the Steelers. A good ad for the Steelers and Russell Wilson. Since the Jets traded for Devontae Adams, Williams wasn't doing much. He seemed like the odd man out. So
he wasn't doing much while he was there without
that's
Devontae Adams. He just was. You could tell that he was not. It's not the deal where DeAndre Hopkins goes to Kansas City and he's right in the fold and he's on the same page with. That's kind of amazing. He's on the same page with Patrick Mahomes. Mike Williams was not going to get any touches because Aaron Rodgers did not trust him.
So let me ask this question. I realize this is an easy second guess, but Dallas today traded for Jonathan Mingo with the Carolina Panthers, and Carolina got a 4. The Titans got a conditional 5 for DeAndre Hopkins, and basically he helped win them that game last night. Merry Christmas, Kansas City, courtesy of the Titans front office. Good Lord.
Has any franchise
Am I wrong to feel that way?
No, I don't think so. I do think D-Hop was cheaper for whatever reason. The Chiefs can do that. They've got Patrick
What do they spread pixie dust on?
Well, they've got the best quarterback to ever play the game. Arguably the best quarterback to ever play the game.
Well, I understand that, but why are we their Christmas present?
That's a good point.
Negotiations, man, and they probably got out negotiated on that one.
If Mingo, nothing against Mingo, he couldn't carry DeAndre Hopkins' jock.
That's
wow, George.
Really? That's a fair
Well,
point.
Is that not a fair thought as you watch all this go on that DeAndre Hopkins, you knew at some point?
I think you're also, you're comparing Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, who probably overpaid for Mingo or overtraded or whatever you call, whereas the Chiefs kind of flexed their muscle and said, we'll go pick up D-Hop for cheap.
you knew at some point when he went over there that he was going to kill it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not in week 2, but you knew at some point the guy still has stuff left in the tank. I don't have any problem with them trading him, but get what he's worth. If Mingo is a 4, then Hopkins shouldn't be a conditional 5.
I'm with you on that. Also, college football got a couple of games tonight. Maction is back. Bowling Green in Central Michigan, then Miami of Ohio and Ball State. A couple of other headlines around college football. USC is making a quarterback switch from Miller Moss to Jaden Mayava after losing 4 of their last 5 games. Moss has started every game this season for USC. Mayava is a good player. He beat Vanderbilt last year, which obviously wasn't saying much, but last year at UNLV, over 3,000 yards, 17 touchdowns. He led them to a Mountain West title game. We'll see. Also, Nebraska has hired former Houston and West Virginia head coach Dana Holgerson as an offensive consultant for the remainder of the season in an attempt to jumpstart their offense. Nebraska had an awful loss to UCLA over the weekend.
Yeah.
When they could have consulting job.
Kelly, I'm telling you, you could do it. I'll write you a letter of recommendation.
There's not much to it, I can promise you that. Good gracious.
College hoops last night.
Can you get me coffee?
Can you print out $50,000? I'll do it.
Can you print out that point spread sheet?
Coffee consultant.
Yeah.
What did you say one of your guys called consultants, Kelly?
I said it was a fleecing of America.
When
I told him
CM Newton,
consulting.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, CM Newton.
when CM Newton was hired by the SEC near the end of his life as a consultant, I asked him, I said, what does a consultant do? He gave me a beautiful answer. Consultant is paid to do nothing.
That's what Tom Moore does. I said, Tom, what does consulting mean? I said, that's fleecing of America right there, Hoss.
I miss Coach Newton's sense of humor.
College hoops already back. Tennessee beats Gardner-Webb. A couple of upsets in the SEC. UCF knocked off Texas A&M. North Florida beats South Carolina 74-71. Memphis did beat Missouri in a good start to their season, and Vandy beat Maryland Eastern Shore 102-63. First time they've hit 100 points since 2018. Good start for Mark Byington.
I believe that we should start the season in mid-October.
I don't know about that late, but let's go Thanksgiving week. I mean, this is too early.
This just seems early.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a little cynical today. You may be saying, so what's new? Not much.
What's new?
Not much. We got a lot to cover. Tony Basilio, after the break, obviously we'll get into a lot of University of Tennessee stuff. Brad Logan, Ole Miss info extraordinaire at 4 o'clock. And then my little State of the Union of the Predators, who are starting to get on people's nerves with their lack of any jump, with any enthusiasm. You got that, Kelly?
No, but I don't know where it comes from, George. I know we'll talk about it, but where does that come from? I'm sure you'll tell me in the 4 o'clock hour. But
absolutely, or I'll try to. Okay. Tony Basilio is in the on deck circle, and that right there says you need to stick around. This is 94.9 The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
94.9 The Fan.
Okay, let's get this show on the road, and we'll begin in Knoxville, Tennessee, where our man Tony Basilio is standing by, Knoxville sports talk show host extraordinaire.
Kelly, you're back for the crown. Look at you, man. In studio today, looking good.
Meeting of the minds.
That's right, baby.
Oh, we lost
gone.
Tony.
Wow.
Meeting of the alleged minds.
That didn't take very long. I know we'll get him back here in just a second. So, Kelly, I'll throw it out to you first. I'm going to throw it to Tony.
My bad, boys.
Well,
my bad.
Actually, yeah, he's back.
I'm here.
We know that you're bad.
Tonight at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock your time.
Yes.
College football playoff. The committee unveils its first poll. We've all been doing polls. Do you think they surprise us with some stuff that is significantly different than what all of us have been putting out?
George, it might be the most college football thing ever that, we do this for a living. And people are, calling my show today, and everybody's inquiring what's this thing going to look like, and nobody knows the criteria. They don't have the criteria written down. So how are we choosing what we're choosing? Is this thing strength of schedule? Is it eye test? Is it a combination? Is it a floating criteria where, hey, at the end of this thing, we just take the best matchups for television? To me, when you don't have a set criteria laid out, a la basketball, where they give you some roadmap, I don't know how any of us can know what the committee's going to do tonight. And when they announced this thing tonight, which, I was thinking a really good way to torture myself might be to go live on my app tonight, when they announced that. And then I was thinking, no, that's silly. And then I was thinking, you know what? It would beat election coverage or watching the Flyers play, because you were getting ready to rip the Predators. Can I jump in on that? Because I want to get
Oh, absolutely.
My Flyers are, we're going to see a game here at the end of the month. It's going to be for the bottom of the free world of professional hockey. Anyway, I don't know what they're going to do tonight, George.
Here's the good news, though. Your seats very close to mine.
Right. Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The only thing that could be better is if
As
Kelly
if
was
I
there.
weren't there.
No. Is if Kelly would come to a hockey game, condescend to show up to a hockey match, let me teach it to him. Kelly, I'll take you under wing. But as for tonight's draw, George, I call it a draw. I don't know what it's going to look like. Tennessee obviously is going to be there. I think they're going to be somewhere between 7 and 10 would be my guess as to where they have them. For some reason, I think they're going to be 8 and Penn State's going to be 9.
Interesting. So you brought up something earlier that's really interesting. In lieu of set criteria, what it does, it allows the conspiracy theories of, hey, let's match up Texas versus A&M if they're there, or let's match up blah, blah, blah. Or in the 80s, since Louisville and Kentucky haven't played hoops in 50 years, let's schedule them to meet in the second round in Nashville.
Yep.
Oh, crap. MTSU puts a stop to that. So the next year, what do? We put them in the first round at Stokely Athletic Center in Knoxville. To me, that's what that does, Tony. It allows the conspiracy theories to start going around going, are they just doing it for TV ratings?
I remember, George, specifically when you and I were kids doing talk radio back in the late 80s, early 90s, and how you get to the end of the year and a West Virginia would be unbeaten. And this is before the BCS days now even. And people would go, what are you going to do with them? You got to put them in there. You got to, or this team over there, you got. What we've done now is if they don't have a set criteria, you're going to have mass chaos at the end of this thing with fan bases screaming at each other that they belong in, you don't belong in, you're too highly rated, we're better than you. I'm not so sure, George, that's not a bad thing. I'm not so sure college football is not at its best when it's more of a verbal argument sport, because truly the whole time that they've had this 14 playoff, it's been an absolute bore. So if anything, this has turned the sport back into a little bit of the sport we grew up on. And the interesting thing is, we were talking about this the other night after the game. I've got some gambling friends that are real into power ratings. And the sport we're watching right now at the Division I level pales in comparison to the sport that we've been watching. In fact, here are a couple of interesting things. Ohio State's number one in the Vegas models right now, okay? They are not one of the 25 best teams of the last 10 years, comparing them to other teams. When you model them, I'm talking about do power ratings. This year's Ohio State team would be an 11-point underdog to 2018 Alabama. George, what would the line be if they played that 2019 LSU team that had Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow,
Justin Jefferson?
Double
what
digits.
would the spread be, guys?
Well, because now we know that LSU ripped Oklahoma to shreds, beat Clemson by more than 20 in the title game.
Right.
So, yeah, hindsight's 2020. It's a double-digit spread.
14.5. These teams today, Tennessee is a 13.5-point underdog, this team, to the Tennessee team from 2 years ago. The transfer portal has moved this talent around to the point, guys, where there is no such thing as a sure thing in college football anymore. The only sure thing from week to week is chaos. Hey, listen, if Kentucky had a few more players the other night, they would have won that game against Tennessee. Tennessee played a C- football game. They were not paying attention. They were not really impressive. Nico had a nice night. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have guys in his receiving corps couldn't catch a cold in a room full of sick kids. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I heard that last night. What are we doing?
Yes.
So let me just throw this out. So Heather Dinich this morning was at some airport doing all these reports on Sports Center and Get Up, and she has Alabama in there tonight when the thing is done. I do not. I don't think Alabama at this moment has earned the right tonight to be part of that 12. And I don't mean that as anything negative against Alabama, but dadgum. I mean, SMU's undefeated. You putting them ahead of them? You've got some stuff here where it's like, why are we pandering to Alabama?
Because they're the New York Yankees of college football.
Well, that is the answer, and it's the correct answer.
But you're right. No, you're right, George. That Alabama team right now, I mean, I don't know.
By the way,
they don't meet the eye test at all.
By the way, Jeremy put it out there. He's absolutely right. I had a little brain cramp there.
SMU lost to Nevada.
Yeah,
it all runs together. The truth is, and the reason you thought SMU, George, is they're undefeated in their league, and if they continue to win all their league games, we're going to have to figure out something to do with them. Tennessee wants Miami to win all their games. They do not want SMU to win at the end of the year when they get Miami in a championship game. Tennessee this week wants Georgia to defeat Ole Miss, and badly. They want Georgia to knock Ole Miss out. And Tennessee needs LSU to beat Alabama. Because if LSU has a win over Alabama, even though Tennessee got them in the head-to-head, Alabama's win at LSU will be more impressive than anything Tennessee did. And I'm afraid, George, like you just said, if it comes to Tennessee or Alabama, they're going to take the Crimson Tide at the end of the year. Because this thing is highly, highly political.
No. Oh, no. Kelly, I'm absolutely shocked.
But Saban's not walking through that door.
Well, he might. He might be.
It really doesn't matter as long as that league office. See, here's what I maintain. The SEC can tell me all they want. Well, we're the grand. As long as your league office is right there in
Birmingham.
In Birmingham, the truth is, you work around these people in the community you have to face every day when you're in that league office. You worship with those people at a house of worship. Your kids play with each other. You go to the same parties. They trick or treat on your street. However you want to put it, you don't want to face them when you're from that league office and say, well, you know what? 10-2 so-and-so from the league went and 10-2 Alabama got left home. I will believe that when I see it, George. So Tennessee need LSU to beat that Alabama team. And another interesting sidebar to that could be from a Tennessee perspective. And we've gamed this out. I have too much time on my hands. So LSU probably ends up in the SEC championship game if they beat Alabama, because they're going to run the table from there. And George, if they do, then the committee probably will have to deal with an LSU team that has 3 losses. And I maintain to you, I said this last week, they have to count what happens in those conference championship games, or they're going to have to admit these things are fake and they're fraudulent and they're money grabs. But they have to count that 3rd loss against LSU if they get there. So Tennessee fans want LSU to win this week, I believe.
Kelly, he's as cynical as I am.
But I want him to expand, because I asked George and Billy yesterday, and I'm going to ask Brad Logan on here when we have him later. But I just want to know this question. You just said it. You kind of answered the question. But now the transfer portal is starting to rear its ugly head, because you've got all these kids switching, and now there's chaos. There's all these. Everybody's liking Texas A&M. They go to South Carolina, get beat. Kentucky beat somebody. They were short. They almost beat Georgia a couple of weeks ago. But there's all this that's going on, and it's 100% due to the transfer portal. And I don't know how you do it as a coach, Tony. Like in the NFL, it's a deal. Like we all know you get like a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady, and he's kind of the statue of that organization, and he's kind of the leader of that deal. You bring everybody else in, but how do you do that in college, where now you've got college free agency, and you're not going to have the Alabama brand or the UT brand? Because I guarantee you this, if a kid wants to go to Alabama and he offers him $250,000, and then Indiana comes along and say, we'll pay you $600, they don't care about going to Alabama. They care about the money. So it doesn't matter to them. So I just think that you're going to start having this stuff each and every week. And I don't know as a coach how you get past that. I know that's the life that we got to live in right now with the transfer portal, but like, how do you build a team like that in this new day and age?
You're not going to build a great team because none of these teams are great.
No.
And specifically, you know what really suffers are these offenses. You played quarterback. What in the hell has happened to quarterback playing college football?
Oh, gosh. I just talked to Bruce Arians about it the other day.
It's unwatchable what's going on in Division I football. Unwatchable. The kid at Georgia, hey, I'm really glad he got his Lamborghini. If I were that kid, I'd be figuring out how much I could get trading that thing in. Because if that kid thinks he's playing professional football, he got nothing coming. That kid is not playing unless he plans on playing in one of those spring leagues. Because when you don't take 3 games now, we're 75% of the way through the year, which means we have a quarter of the season left. He's got 3 games where he has 3 interceptions. If he's doing that now, what is he going to look like when he puts an NFL helmet on, Kelly? That ain't going to be pretty. I mean, Will Levis thinks this guy's having a bad run right now. And then you've got the quarterback issue. Matt Dixon, who's on me, said something interesting today that I want to run by you guys. He thinks that this transfer portal thing, all these new receivers, these quarterbacks have to deal with, all these new offensive linemen that they've got to deal with, that these offenses, by the time the year's over, is when they finally get to know each other.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Absolutely, it's true. I don't know how you do it. I'm sitting here thinking, because I was watching all the chaos the other night, and I'm thinking, like, these kids now, are you going to? It's just like what happened the other day with the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson. He decided that, hey, I need a break. Like, does that kid ever play anymore? But that's what this new society is. This is what this new deal is. These guys
you tap your helmet.
And here's the deal.
Tap your helmet.
Like, I know, tap your helmet. But here's the deal. Like, these guys, I don't understand how a coach does it, man. Because you had a kid in your program for 4 years. You could mold him into what you wanted,
right?
And the Alabama brand meant something,
right?
But now I think they've taken that away, and now these kids do not care. It's all about what I can get paid, and that's going to kill the game. Like I said, I was talking to Bruce Arians about it the other day, and you talking about quarterback play. I'm so sick of watching these guys run around. At some point, learn the position. It's awful, and it's only going to get worse.
Well, Jeremy McKnight has a comment, and he's right in terms of
totally right.
Playing the NFL. Hey, listen, I think that Joe Flacco, if we're not careful, is going to play till he's 60. He's going to look like Daryl LaMonica over there, drinking beer and smoking cigarettes before he goes back out like the 1970s, like you see. Because, guys, college football's not producing these. You guys want Deion Sanders on an NFL team? No. That kid's not going to be a quarterback.
Tony, he's
the guy
pretty good,
Miami,
man.
The guy at Miami, maybe. Who else in college football? You want to challenge yourself? Give me 5, the top 5
I can't do that.
quarterbacks in the SEC.
I can't do that
this year. Top 5 starting quarterbacks.
I can't do it.
We did. We tried to do it on the show today. We could not name 5. And by the way, Nico in Knoxville had a nice game the other night, but he's not. He hasn't arrived yet. I mean, he's not what we call trustworthy yet. No way.
Well, that's what I said to George the other day, actually yesterday, because I thought he had a nice game too. I thought he made some good throws when he knows where he's going with the ball. But like the other day, he had a play, and I was watching it on the highlights where there was a guy coming on a crossing route. He had him open right now. but he steps up and he takes off running and then he throws it. He's 3 seconds too late. And when you get to the National Football League, it's not going to happen, man. You cannot make those plays. And just like Jeremy talked about, the position is down, and I think it only gets worse. I know that Bruce was talking to me about, and I hate bringing up Anthony Richardson, but like the head coach, I know for a fact told the owner there that, hey, this is the new age. This is where it's going. And if that's where it's going, it's like the penalties. It's becoming unwatchable to a guy that knows the position. I can't stand watching it because I want a guy that's going to make a throw, that's going to make decisions with his mind. And once something happens, he just steps aside, steps to the other side, makes a throw to somebody instead of taking off running. And that's where the game's going. And I wondered where this transfer portal was going to have a huge effect. And right now I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it.
There's no doubt about that, guys. Look, if you bet unders this year, you're making money. The NFL's got a problem because that's supposed to be and George knows us from the sports gambling thing. The favorites are hammering the dogs the last several weeks. Vegas is getting hammered. We've never seen a run like this. The have-nots in that league are dreadful. The quarterback play at the bottom of that thing is dreadful. And I'm telling you, Josh Dobbs probably thought in the back of his mind, I'm an aerospace engineer. By the time I'm 30, okay, I'll be on my way to working for NASA or whomever. Hey, Josh, pull up a chair. You might play to your 40. Listen, college football is not producing. These guys are going to take these guys' jobs. There aren't dependable players coming out of college football.
Guys, I have to step in here because Billy has a question. Does this have to do with sending a resume? Do you need a P.O. box?
It's a piece of breaking news.
Put yourself on camera.
It's a piece of breaking news for Tony coming out of Philly.
That man's good looking. Look at him.
Joel Embiid has been suspended for 3 games without pay for an altercation shoving a columnist in the locker room.
And the columnist deserved it. That columnist deserved to get his face punched in what he wrote about that kid.
What did he say?
He said, first of all, Joel Embiid, his rookie year, when he played with the Sixers, he's from Cameroon, has a brother named Arthur who came to visit him when he was at the Sixers. He was on the road, and Joe couldn't get back to be with his brother, and his brother died shortly thereafter in a car accident, which really messed up Joel Embiid. And so Joel recently had a son, a few years old, named Arthur, named his son after his late brother, which is kind of a sweet thing. And Joel Embiid is, he's a China doll. You know, he cannot stay healthy. He just can't. He's just one of those professional athletes that just can't stay healthy.
He's the reincarnation of Sam Bowie.
It's sad. I mean,
it is.
He's a wildly talented guy. But this columnist in Philadelphia wrote that Joel Embiid named his son after his late brother, and if his late brother could see him now, something to this effect. If his late brother could see him now, what would he say? And what is he teaching his son? That not going to work is acceptable. So he evoked the kid's son and his dead brother in a slam on him. And the minute Embiid saw the guy, he jumped up and basically told him, he said, you're very, very lucky that I don't catch you out, because if I caught you out, I'd live with the consequences of what I do to you. If you ever write my son's name or my dead brother's name in your column again, you will deal with it. And he pushed
to be honest, I'm surprised that the Sixers, when that came out, did not meet with the newspaper's editors and
that's right.
You know, and
diffuse that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You know what, George, this speaks to as well? When we first encountered newspapers, or the operation up till about 15 years ago, there were layers in these newsrooms that would stop something like that before it got out. And now there's half a person if you're lucky. Because what gets printed now, it's like a lot of things. What gets printed now, you imagine saying something like that about, a fellow human being, let alone You know, what are you going to get?
Right. But you would have had an editor who would have said, that ain't happening.
Right. But Embiid hadn't played.
Yours is a great point.
Yeah. No editors. There's no oversight in any of it. It's kind of like this thing we're going to have tonight. Like you said, what's going to stop these people at the end of it from going, hey, you know what? Yeah. Ole Miss has had a better year, but we're going to put Alabama in the playoff. Or, you know, LSU. Ole Miss doesn't have any fan base. What? Or Indiana. You know, who wants them? Let's put one of these brand name teams in here. That's exactly what's going to happen here. When you tell me you don't have to show your work, when you don't have to show your work, I know what you're getting ready to do. And you can call that what it is, but I've lived. And so have you guys. This thing's about money. This is a made-for-TV television show. It's what this thing is.
On election night. Okay. If somebody is hearing you for the first time and they're saying that guy in the right corner is way better than the one in the left corner, how can they hear you?
George A. would never say that.
They have.
You're what we call George Plaster HOF. That's how you. Is that how you sign things now? Do you sign them HOF?
HOF.
Billy, did you get that taken care of on that stamp?
You sign things HOF. I sign things SOL. But anyway, I'm on what is my thing called? tclub.team.
HOF.
Listen, I do think I'm jumping on tonight because I mean, look at me. I got nothing better to do. I'm on, as soon as they announce the Tennessee thing, and we'll be on there probably. So look for us on Twitter as well. We'll be on there talking about it and having a good time with ourselves.
You are a piece of work. It is so much fun having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you as always.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Tony Basilio. Billy, have you gotten a resume to him?
In the works.
I don't want him anymore, George.
Say that again,
word.
Kelly.
Tony doesn't want Billy anymore. I've got the word.
Wow. Investigative reporting from Kelly Holcomb.
There's an outstanding offer out there.
Yeah, sure there is.
Oh, is
after
that right?
After the break, we'll talk about some of what he put out there a little while ago. This is 94.9 The Fan. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
So, Tony Basilio had a lot to say in his segment. The fact that there really is no known criteria for what we're ultimately going to see tonight and in the weeks to come. Kelly, it does make me wonder at times that while I want to believe that the people in the room are trying their best to be honest, I do wonder if a network, when they get the pairings, says, you know, it wouldn't take much to move X out of here, put Texas A&M in, and let's have a rematch of two teams that hate each other that will get great national ratings. You can't tell me the networks don't try to have that influence.
I think that's absolutely correct, George. You look at it right now, and I'm looking through all this, and like Indiana cannot mess up. They can't mess up. Like if they lose if they lose to Ohio State, they're gone. Don't you think they're gone for good?
I hope that there is such a stink that they're not allowed to let that happen.
Well, I agree with you, but but then you look at the other. Well, BYU's in the same position. Iowa State lost one game. Now we talked about it. Iowa State they were kind of teetering on that for a couple of weeks now, but Iowa State gets beat, and you had those guys last week, I think, at number 4. You thought that they would win the Big 12, and now they're 17th. So I just and then what do you do if you're the committee? Do you think that since we're using Alabama as this, because I think they want them in as much as anybody, but like do you think that BYU could beat Alabama? Probably not. Do you think Indiana can beat Alabama? Probably not.
Stop there. That's one I'd like to see, because everybody's got Indiana hadn't played the schedule, and that's the easy crutch. But when I watch Indiana, they're pretty damn good.
They are. They are. I just don't we don't know that, but I just think that with the tradition that you talk about, and with you talking about everything has gone to money, so you can better believe that when they're talking about that, these network people are trying to make money in all this, and they've got a say in all this. And Alabama's going to bring a lot of people. And Tony had a good point. They go to church with these people down there in Birmingham, and all this stuff is connected. And it
just means more.
It just, as you say, it just means more. But I don't like Miami's had some impressive wins, but they've had to come back on some games too. Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know if they have, but they've had to come back on some games, which I don't know is going to be with a great strength of schedule for them. I just don't know how this is going to go. But Tony's right. I don't know if there's a criteria that they go, and when you don't have a criteria, then that means the powers that be can do whatever they want.
There's no criteria, but it's going to sort itself out. It's going to start to sort itself out in a pretty big way in the next couple of weeks. You've got, to wrap up the season, really, you've got some monster games in the SEC. Ole Miss, Georgia could be an elimination. That could eliminate Ole Miss. Alabama, LSU, that's an elimination.
That
playoff
absolutely
game.
is.
Tennessee, Georgia next weekend is another monster one, and then Texas A&M. So,
okay, let me try it this way. This is a really cynical thought I'm going to put out there. If Indiana had one loss and it was to Vandy, you wouldn't hear a peep about Indiana.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think Alabama should be in anybody's field.
Not yet.
That's assuming they beat LSU.
But if they beat LSU, then we got something to talk about.
And then they're going to be in. Yeah.
But tonight, I don't. To me, it's absurd that tonight ESPN started all that this morning. Alabama, they're right on the edge. I don't think they're right on the edge. I don't think they're number 13.
I mean, heck, I'd put LSU above Alabama right now.
I'd have to think that one through.
Yeah,
I know LSU lost to USC, but
what about SMU? You think Alabama would beat SMU?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
But I'll say this. SMU opened my eyes a little bit Saturday.
Got some athletes.
The beat down that they put on Pitt, that kind of got my attention a little bit.
And look out if they beat Miami.
So this is my poll from yesterday, right?
Yep.
They might shred that poll tonight. I know we got to go to the break. Stat of the day, and then Ole Miss's best info man, Brad Logan, will join us to start the 4 o'clock hour. We got a lot coming. This is 94.9 The Fan. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Experience the thrill of gaming glory at Harrah's Metropolis Casino and Hotel, just a little over 2 hours northwest of Nashville off I-24. Call 1-800-HARRAHS and reserve your room today. Indulge in appetizing dining experiences along with the hottest slots and table gaming. As a Caesars Rewards destination, every moment you spend at Harrah's Metropolis earns you points across the entire Caesars empire. It's your time to win at Harrah's Metropolis. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
All right, we're talking a little Ole Miss, Georgia this weekend with Brad Logan. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. They've got 3 locations, one in Old Hickory, one in Hendersonville, one in Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com.
Let me say it another way. If you end up in a collision, Stan Harrison and these folks are who you want to call. They do really good work.
All right, we're going NFL. The Chiefs have won their 8th straight game against the Broncos this weekend. They're looking to go 9-0, which would be the longest undefeated streak since who? It happened in the COVID year, 2020.
The COVID year when we had no fans.
Yeah.
We learned the value of fans. Kelly, anybody coming to mind right off the bat?
I'm trying to understand the question. I'm not smart sometimes. The Chiefs have won their 8 against the Broncos.
This Sunday they play the Broncos, trying to go 9-0, which would be the longest undefeated streak for an NFL team since whom?
Whomst.
Whom?
And that's 2020 with
So you got teams like Philly and San Fran and Kansas City and Buffalo.
Buffalo. I was thinking Buffalo, but Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers was still in Green Bay. The first thing that I thought of was Buffalo, but I don't think they've gone that far.
I don't think they have either.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Seems to be some silence.
Some crickets.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, for little or nothing, I'd bring Brad in without a proper intro and just blame the whole thing on him.
I would say I'm going to say Green Bay.
You know what? I'm going with you. Show us the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, whatever.
Steelers.
God, they were 11-0.
Yep.
Were they really?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I hope they had fun. Let's see if, as we begin the 4 o'clock hour from our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue, we begin by saying hello to that man on the right. He is as wired to Ole Miss as it gets. He is Brad Logan, officially inside the Rebels 24/7 Sports. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I would like to add a stat of the day for our good friends at your sponsor. Lane Kiffin, 41-17 as head coach at Ole Miss. That is the best winning percentage since John H. Vaught. That was the last time Ole Miss won a national championship, and you have to go all the way back to the 59 or 60. So big achievement so far for Lane Kiffin without question, and it is a big weekend for sure this weekend for Ole Miss.
No kidding. And so I'm not going to start there. I got to ask this. When last rites of the Catholic Church were given to Billy Napier about 6 weeks ago, the football last rites, all I ever heard was Florida's going after Lane Kiffin. Number one, do you think that was true? And number two, if those last rites are administered again, is Lane Kiffin going to Florida?
As we stand here right now, I think Ole Miss has a better job than Florida. I think it's got a better NIL package. I think it has better facilities. It doesn't have the national championships as of late that Coach Spurrier was able to bring to Gainesville. But I think as we stand, it's a better job. Now, does that mean Lane Kiffin doesn't go to Florida at the end of the year? Absolutely not. I mean, I do think there's an opportunity that Lane could insert job here. I don't know that Florida is the answer. But what I do know is what he's been able to do at Ole Miss. And, of course, with head coach Lane Kiffin, defensive coordinator Pete Golding, offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr., Ole Miss is in a position that it hasn't been in since Coach Vaught. Maybe could be argued since 2003 with Coach Cutcliffe, with Eli Manning and an opportunity to play LSU to go to the SEC championship game. I think there's a lot of correlation between what Ole Miss has upcoming on Saturday versus what was happening in 2003, and to some extent in 2014 with Ole Miss and Arkansas, another chance to go to the SEC championship game, both games that Ole Miss lost. But as it stands right now, I think Lane Kiffin has supplanted himself as the coach at Ole Miss, and I think he has embraced Oxford as much as Oxford has embraced him, and I think it's a good time right now in Oxford. Now, I will temper that by saying there's been two teams that have been the nemesis for Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. Number one is Alabama, and number two is Georgia. He has not conquered either of those mountains. He's got an opportunity on Saturday, but he's yet to slay those two dragons, and those are two big dragons in the Southeastern Conference.
You made a really interesting point earlier that right now Ole Miss feels like the better job. A guy I did a game with years ago, Walker Jones, great Ole Miss football player, has led the Rebel NIL collective. Help me with this, Brad. It sounds like Ole Miss kind of got a head start on a lot of schools that just sort of said, we're not sure what this means yet.
I think what it means is you have someone like Walker Jones. You made a great point, George. He's someone that played the sport, played at Ole Miss. Not only does he have the playing experience, he has the experience as an executive for Under Armour. He's been in the collegiate game for a number of years. Ole Miss and the Grove Collective, in this case, it was started by a couple of preeminent big boosters. What happens at this point is Walker Jones has overseen this collective. He's spoken before Washington, before the legislature, and about the importance of being a part of a Grove Collective, in this case, the Ole Miss Grove Collective. So what does that mean? I think, number one, there are a couple of things at play. Ole Miss was one of the first teams that really embraced the collective model, the NIL model that we've grown to either love or hate here in the world of college athletics. Number two, it was very, very advantageous to go out and collect dollars for the Grove Collective. And three, he had the fan base buy in to the Grove Collective. Not only the fan base, but a collaborative effort with the university, with Director of Athletics, Keith Carter, obviously maintaining a relationship within the rules of the NCAA, but having a cohesive effort with not only the athletic department, but with the university as a whole. Denson Hollis and the Vault Society, everyone kind of working in concert with the understanding that the collective has its place for an athletic model with the NIL, with also the university raising money on its own, but everyone kind of working in a cohesive effort. And it's been a really good collective so far. We saw last week, had so many people in Fayetteville tell me that, Brad, our collective, our being Arkansas, is nowhere near what Ole Miss's is. Now, it's all about money. I get that. But you have to have administration, you have to have delegation, and you have to have everyone kind of working towards the same goal. And that's what Ole Miss has done.
So, okay, what the heck? I'm going to ask this. If you had to guess, how many dollars does Lane Kiffin have at his disposal in the name of NIL?
It would be pure speculation, George. That's not something that's available to the public, and I wouldn't really know where to begin with that. I just know this. Ole Miss was in a position to get a transfer like a Walter Nolan, the top defensive tackle in the country from Texas A&M. They were able to get the top tackler from Arkansas in Pooh Paul. They were able to go to the portal and get Ulysses Bentley, a running back out of SMU. This was last year. They've been very advantageous. The wide receiver from South Carolina, although Juice Wells has not performed as well as Ole Miss would have liked him to perform, he has definitely been an acquisition that Ole Miss really needed. they've been able to go to the portal and get 2 offensive linemen from the University of Washington. They were the Joe Moore Offensive Line Award winners for the year. Nate Caleppo and Julius Buello have been big parts of that offensive line. It's been a collaborative effort, and it is one to where money has not been an issue, George. I don't know any specific amounts that I feel like I would be at liberty to say.
Sure.
I can just say that the university, in this case, the Grove Collective, has not wanted for money at all for this particular football season. Now, this is a season that we ask at preseason media day on campus. I asked Jordan Watkins what it was like, the wide receiver, by the way, a transfer from Louisville. I asked him, I said, what is the goal for this team? And he looked me square in the face and said, national championship. I looked at Lane Kiffin. I looked at Caden Prescorn, the transfer tight end out of Memphis. They all said, specifically, Prescorn talked about national championship. Lane even made mention Monday at the press availability that he's talking about the importance of the college football playoff with his team now. He's not hiding the fact, and he's going public with that, understanding that the game on Saturday is a playoff game, whether it is on paper or not. Ole Miss has to win this game in order to be in the conversation for the college football playoff.
Okay, I got one more, and then we'll turn it to Kelly. By the way, we got to see real quickly, for those who are watching, check out the backdrop that Brad has.
We put this together.
This thing looks good.
I'm a part of the Max South Sports Network, and we do podcasting for them. And so I've got a little help with my backdrop here, and I'm very, very blessed to have a lot of people that's not named Brad Logan help me put the backdrop here in the Logan palatial studios here at the Logan Media Network. So thank you for those comments. But there are a lot put into this.
I love it. I believe it, too. Okay, in the early going of Lane Kiffin, when Georgia and Ole Miss would play, it would be interesting, but you always kind of knew in the back of your mind that Georgia will eventually just physically wear down Ole Miss. They'll give it to a tailback, get the hell out of the way, and here we go. Is Ole Miss at a point now when they play Georgia where that will not be the case?
Last year at the end of the game, the media asked Lane Kiffin the game against Georgia, which, oh, by the way, they gave the ball to their running back and they got the hell out of the way. And that's exactly what happened. I think it was like 53 to 13. I don't remember the score, but it was a drubbing, to say the least. This is a situation to where we asked Lane Kiffin at the end of the game, Lane, what happened tonight? And, you were in the college football playoff conversation and you're not anymore. Why is that? And he basically said we were outplayed, we were outcoached, and I'm nicing it up a little bit in Lane's terms. We didn't have the players. We've got to do something in the recruiting model. We've got to do something coach-wise. We've got to do something to just frankly get better. So we rock along a couple of months, come into the preseason, the season or what have you. And I asked Lane Kiffin, Coach, at the end of the Georgia game, you talked about how you didn't have the coaches, the players, you didn't have the staff, you didn't have anything remotely to put you in a type of position to play against a team like Georgia. Were you able to rectify that over the last couple of months? And he looked me square in the face and he says, yes, we were. So we've seen Ole Miss play really well this year. They've got 2 losses by a combined 6 points. Obviously, LSU and Kentucky. They just really destroy Arkansas. They're playing really well. So we asked Lane Kiffin on Monday, Coach, here we are a year later. Are you more prepared now versus where you were last year facing a team like Georgia? And he wasn't quite as enthusiastic about. I think it was more. He didn't want to really play up Kirby. I do think he really likes his roster versus last year, and I think it's a great opportunity for Ole Miss to go out and win the game on Saturday. But to answer your question, yes, they match up as well as they probably ever have in the history of the program versus a team like Alabama, like Georgia, like an Ohio State, an Oregon, a Texas, a bigger name program. Ole Miss has never had the roster to match a team like that until this year.
Okay, show us the backdrop again. Kelly, notice the creativity in his backdrop. Got all these different things. And then let's go to Murfreesboro and let's check out the creativity of yours, where it looks like we may have the Beatles in the background, or I don't know what that is.
It's not the Beatles. It's a family portrait, George.
Okay.
I mean, relax, Francis.
Well,
okay?
I mean,
we don't need all that.
You could have put a little more creativity into it.
Why?
I don't know.
They don't need to see the backdrop, okay? I mean, you didn't put any creativity into yours. You just used the Fort Ice centers. I mean, are we kidding here? So Brad, let me ask you this. And we were all talking at the beginning of the year, and you've kind of hit on it already, but were the expectations a little bit too high? I mean, they still like the season comes down to this weekend. If they lose to Georgia, they're probably out of the talk. Everybody's had them out of the talk for a while now. They're not even in the top 12. I think they're 16th as we see. But do you think the expectations were a little too high to begin the season?
I don't think so, Kelly. And the reason I say that is going into the season, it was college football playoff or bust. Not only just from the fan base, the administration, but for the players as well and the coaching staff. So, you look at this team, and I can't reiterate enough. I mean, you can't play it on paper, but if you did play it on paper, Ole Miss would have been the favorite in every game except the one on Saturday. But you do play it on the field and not on paper, and obviously they've got 2 losses. 2 losses in which the Kentucky game, they're really scratching their head. They didn't play well, but Kentucky was fully healthy. They got a lot of injuries the last couple of weeks across that defensive front. Kentucky coach Mark Stoops just schemed the heck out of Lane Kiffin. They won the game fair and square. And so that loss really hurts Ole Miss. But I think if there's any good news to that, it occurred at the beginning of the season. So you've got a chance to maybe watch that thing out. You need chaos. Kelly, is what you need in college football. We've seen some of that with Vanderbilt beating Alabama, and of course they beat Auburn, and we've seen some chaos with South Carolina beating Texas A&M, and seeing that chaos is going to help Ole Miss if they can win out. If they can finish 10-2, and hopefully have Georgia would at that point have 2 losses. They would need to have beaten Tennessee and Alabama and LSU. Either LSU, if they beat Alabama, then you had to go head to head with them. I think for Ole Miss, Alabama needs to beat LSU to knock them down. And then you need some crazy things to happen down the stretch. At the end of the day, you need chaos if you're Ole Miss, but you have to win the game on the schedule. At the end of the day, it's college football playoff or bust for this team. And anything less than 10-2, I think if Ole Miss goes 10-2 and misses a playoff, we could have an argument whether it's a good season or not, which sounds crazy when you look at the history of Ole Miss football. Doesn't have a ton of success in regards to 10-win seasons. Lane Kiffin was the first one to do that last year. But I think if you talk about a collective effort, no pun intended, with how much they put the chips in the middle by saying we're going to the college football playoff or it's going to be a bust. If they go 10-2, 9-3 in the Citrus Bowl, not going to fly with Ole Miss fans. But at the end of the day, still a pretty good season, but nowhere near where they expected with the investment that the fans have put in with the Grove Collective.
So the transfer portal has caused chaos, and we just had another guest on that I was talking about that, and it's Lane Kiffin was in it. I mean, he was in the transfer portal. Talked a little bit about it at SEC Media Days a couple of years ago, and I like what he said. But he went full force in it. He got a lot of kids. He paid a lot of money. Can a coach nowadays? I know Oregon's still undefeated, but can a coach nowadays, with trying to get guys out, bring guys in, how hard is it for those guys to bring a group of young kids together and to go undefeated? Is that day maybe over?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good point. I thought maybe Dabo, who's not big on the portal, we know that. And I thought, as well as Clemson was playing, hey, maybe Dabo's got it figured out. And then they go and lay an egg against Louisville. And I think it was Louisville who they lost to on Saturday.
Yeah.
Now you're kind of wondering, well, I don't know about that model. You see what Colorado does with Deion, and they're a completely overhauled program, just similar to Ole Miss, to where Ole Miss has, I think, one true freshman that starts on defense that's made his way up, and offense really doesn't have any. They've got 1 or 2. I think Reese McIntyre is one. They've got a couple of players that have been in the system for a while. Other than that, Ole Miss is pretty much a transfer portal team. I do think there is going to be a day to where there's got to be a happy medium. And I think the team that finds that happy medium, one of those teams has been Georgia. One of those teams has been Alabama, that has kind of figured it out. Texas is another example that's kind of figured it out pretty well, to where you can mix a perfect example of high school players with transfer portal players. So far, like I said, Ole Miss has been all transfer, but they've really come together. And I think we sometimes overshadow the fact you got a Jared Ivey, J.J. Pegues, Jackson Dart. Sure, they're transfers, but here's the thing people don't understand. They've been in the system for a couple of years. So it's almost like they're not so much transfer portal players as much as a traditional player that you recruited out of high school. Because a lot of times those traditional players you recruit out of high school, they're only there for a couple of years before they go pro. So I think we kind of get mixed up a little bit talking about transfer portal when I think there's a nice mixture on this Ole Miss roster of players that have been in the system over a couple of years, and they've really gelled well together this year, and they're really gelling well now, and I think they're peaking at the perfect time right now.
I'm going to take one more question from George. He said this to our last guest, but they're coming out with the top 12 tonight on the college football rankings. How do you see that going? And there's a lot. You talk about chaos. There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen, and I'm just not like, if you look at the SMUs of the world, the Indianas of the world, and the BYUs who's up there. You're going to have those 4 teams that win their conference. That's going to get a bye. But after that, you got to look, and if you're the committee, you got to look. And I feel like they're trying to get Alabama in. I mean, Nick Saban sounded like the other day on game day he's trying to bolster his former team to get in there, but like, what do you see on that top 12, and how crazy can it be? And is there anything that's going to be kind of crazy to everybody that they put in that the people don't think should be there tonight?
Well, honestly, the only reason they're having this thing at this point in the season is for ratings purposes. So
correct.
You probably are going to see teams that you may not think should be 11 or 12. But once again, I think all this stuff gets worked out in the wash. Now, if you ask me where I think Ole Miss lands, I think it's probably, I think, Kelly, you said it perfect earlier, 14, 15, somewhere around in there. So if they beat Georgia, obviously I think they will jump up the charts. I don't know how far that would be. But, Ole Miss really can't advance anything after it beats Georgia. That's the problem, Kelly, is that if they beat Georgia, then you've got a hapless Florida program. I think they're playing a little bit better. And then the worst Mississippi State team, probably since Sylvester Croom, has been put on the field. So even if you beat Mississippi State 72-0, I don't think that helps your college football playoff hopes. Ole Miss has to have chaos. They have to have things happen because they've already lost to Kentucky. That's going to be looming. I don't think the loss to LSU and OT hurts them very much, but the loss to Kentucky absolutely does, and they've got to have some crazy stuff happen down the stretch.
You are a good man to put up with us and continue to come on here with a better backdrop than I've seen before.
Well, George, before I go, I want to say to all of you how much I enjoy the show, how much I appreciate the opportunity to come on, and congratulations on the recent move. I know a lot of people are enjoying that. And I will tell all the listeners, I won't give all my secrets away between our conversations. Let's just say when Vandy beat Alabama, there was a text that went out, and I got a text back of the field, and I could not be more proud for my friends from Vanderbilt. That was a big win for the Commodores.
That was crazy stuff that day. Brad, you're a good man. Thank you, as always, for coming on here.
You bet. Thanks, George.
Brad Logan, Inside the Rebels, 24/7 Sports. Nobody is more wired to that program than he is. After the break, a few thousand words about the Nashville Predators.
Here we go.
Who suddenly are not getting it done. This is 94.9, The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company. Or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
What an interesting piece of bump music to get us started. It's a beautiful day. Actually, it looks like it's going to rain, but it's also election day. Still got about 2.5 hours. If you haven't voted and you're listening to this or watching it live, get out there and vote. I mean, a lot of people have given up their lives and their freedoms for us to have this ability to vote. Go do it. Okay. Few 100,000 words about the Preds. The Preds just finished last night a 3-game homestand. And in 2 of those 3 games, I would claim that their level of excitement, interest, whatever, juice, however you want to describe it, it simply wasn't there. And in those 2 games, Colorado being the third and a really good win Saturday night, but the Thursday night and the last night are completely inexcusable. And right now, some of this is on that guy, Andrew Brunette. It is his job to have his team ready. Do I think they were ready either Thursday or Monday in this 3-game homestand? Absolutely not. Let's talk season tickets for a minute, because season ticket holders are the absolute lifeblood of the Preds. It's not that way with the Titans. You've heard me say it a million times. The Titans don't give a damn about their season ticket holders. They simply want your wallet, and then they call it a partnership. The Predators, on the other hand, they go farther than just about any pro sports franchise I know of to try to make their season ticket holders feel wanted. I'm a day one, year one season ticket holder of both. So I speak from experience. One simply doesn't give a damn. The other really does. Now let's go to Barry Trotz, who over the summer made this huge splash with these 3 free agents. Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, thank you, and Brady Shea. And sadly, at least in the first month of the season, they haven't done much. They haven't gotten anywhere near what is expected. But it's this show up with no energy, show up with no oomph, show up with nothing that twice in the last 5 days has got me saying something's not right. Kelly, here's what I think I know. Okay, I go back with Barry Trotz to the day he was hired. He will tell you that I'm the first interview he ever did here. He'll tell you that I took a look at him and said, "Who the hell are you?" And he'll tell you that he took one look at me and said, "Who the hell are you?" Here's what I know about Barry Trotz. I will guarantee you, even though I haven't talked to him, he is pissed. He should be pissed off because the effort and the enthusiasm and the grittiness and the juice that Predator teams under him have brought to the table, even when they didn't have this level of talent, it's not there every night. I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you I'm not happy about it.
George, a little side note on my ride back from Minneapolis the other day, I was on the same plane as Barry Trotz, and I went up and I introduced myself to him.
Okay.
Asked him if he had talked to you, and then he asked me what I was doing, and I told him that I was watching the Bad News Bears play in South Dakota. And he said he did make light of it. He said, "Yeah, we kind of look that way right now." I'm sure he's probably pissed off, but he didn't seem like he was too upset about it. He said, "We got an older team. We just got to start playing together, and we've got to start playing better." And I told him, I said, "Well, the things that I did playing in professional sports, it sometimes it gets better and sometimes it don't. But I'm like, you've got a team that obviously you built, and they'll come around at some point, and hopefully, but you say that, but you never really know. And I was going to ask y'all, like, what you just said it though, George. You don't know. You can't put a finger on it. He's made some good free agent signings that we thought, but right now the team's not mixing. They're not gelling. Maybe it's a deal where they thought they were going to come in here, and with all the experience and all the players that they had on the team, that they were just going to show up each night and it was going to go right for them. So I will say this: when you talked about Andrew Burnett, when you're in professional sports, and I'm told you I'm reading that Tom Moore book, and he talks a lot about Chuck Noll, and Chuck Noll was very fundamental. He knew every year when they started they were going to do this. They did it. Didn't matter if you were a 15-year pro or a rookie, and he would do the same thing over and over. But he was not a motivator. He thought that he tried to get guys that were self-motivating, and I think when you're in professional athletics, and when you make it to the big leagues, you have to be a self-motivator. You cannot have a coach try and motivate you every night. I get what you're saying, and I understand that they've got to be ready fundamentally, that's for sure. But if we're asking for a coach to motivate a professional athlete, that's kind of gone by the wayside nowadays. It's just, you can't do that. They've got to be self-motivators, and if you know they're not self-motivators going into it, then you don't need those guys. So I don't know what's going on, George. I don't think you do. I know that everybody else is upset. Hopefully it gets better for the Predators. I think it will, but when we say that, we really don't know, because sometimes with teams there's just something missing and we can't put a finger on it. We don't know, and it never works itself out.
Here's what I'm bothered by. And no, I'm not a hockey expert. Yeah. I am a whatever year it is, 26-year season ticket holder. I go to a ton of games. You all know that I have really gotten into this. And Billy, I want you to buzz in on this as well. It's one thing to say you got beat. It's another to sit there and say you brought nothing to the table, lifeless, listless. I'm not going to sit there and say disinterested, but it sure looks that way from Section 304, Row 1. I left in the middle of the third period last night and said, screw it. I'm going to watch the Chiefs in Tampa.
Yeah, I never thought it would look this bad for the Preds. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know that this is some just early season slow start struggle. I mean, what are we now? What, 13, 12? How many games are we in on this season?
We're now a month into the season.
I mean, that's typically a couple week thing where you'll figure it out. But for them to still be down in the dumps, and they've had chances to play some teams similar to them, and they haven't really, they're not winless, but they're not clicking the way I thought they would.
And there's no doubt that some of this is trying to integrate the new with the old. Okay? Because a Steven Stamkos has had a Hall of Fame career in Tampa. Him leaving Tampa has got to be weird.
Yeah.
When they honored him a week ago with an incredible ceremony, yeah, I get all of that. But I'm like, okay, when is this? Because the thing I've always loved about this team is they bring it every night. They may not be as talented, but they bring it every night. This team, maybe they do, maybe they don't.
Two of the last talented, George. Do you think they're talented?
Yes. Yeah,
More
I think
talented
it's
than they were.
Oh yeah, yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. These guys are so talented that they come in and they think that, hey, we've got all this talent around us that we don't really have to do what we used to do. Somebody else is going to step up, and that's where the dysfunction falls sometimes, where guys think somebody else is going to, like, if I'm not playing good, somebody else is going to step up. So they're all waiting for somebody else to step up, and nobody else steps up, and then your talent's wasted. So I don't know. It's you just can't put your finger on things like that. I don't know where they're at. I don't know coaching wise where they're at, because they're getting the same coaching, I'm sure, from Andrew Burnett that they had last year. Now maybe it's a little different because he's got a more experienced team and a more talented team, but still something's happening and you just don't know.
This team, first of all, Barry Trotz taught me years ago, when it comes to hockey, you got to get some ugly, dirty goals.
Yeah.
Right up at the net. Goofy stuff. Like last night, the Kings' first goal is shot off the back, off a horrible angle. The guy just flips it to the back of UC Saros, and it goes in. Okay, not exactly your Spalding Guide goal, but it's all part of you got to get to the net. You got to get down and dirty. This team so far doesn't get down and dirty.
Yeah.
It's too much French pastry.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They've got some skill guys that are making a lot of money, but where's their grit? Where's their toughness? Because you're going to need that, and they need to find it quick. This can't continue for much longer.
And here's the other thing. Okay? You got a general manager right now who, in his real life, is a coach. Once a coach, always a coach. If this continues much longer, you're going to have people start to say, maybe Barry Trotz needs to go down and coach this team. I'm not for that. Barry would kill me if he heard this, because it's probably the last thing in the world that he's thinking or wants. But if Andrew Burnett allows this team to continue to play at this lifeless manner that they have been for another month, I won't be the only one muttering it. Others will start saying it as well. Because
when you have a team like this that's older like that, and you've got a coach, and if you're a certain type of coach, sometimes that stuff falls on deaf ears. Where if you got a younger team and they're striving to get somewhere, which I think that team was last year, they're striving to do something, you're willing to listen, and then you get older guys. I was in a situation like this where, a coach had a leadership council, but when we challenged him or did something to him, he didn't like it. And I think the leadership council was just something to throw out there to tell people, I did it. I didn't like it, but I did it. And the guys that challenged him the next year, they were all gone. Because some coaches they can't take that. They can't. Right. They don't like experience in that, and they don't want. They think they're the coach, and whatever a player says to them, You're not as smart as I am. We're not going to listen to that. And you challenge them, and they just don't like it.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. And I hope it doesn't have to happen because I want Andrew Burnett to succeed. But it would not be the first time that a general manager has gone down to being a head coach, and it worked. 2 words, Bobby Cox.
Yeah.
Wow. How'd that work out? Okay,
Wow.
we'll go to the break, and then we'll open up the phone lines and open up the text lines. Phone lines available, 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. Billy, how does a person text us, especially if they think I've lost my rocker?
Well, they've already got some in the YouTube chat room right now. We'll read some of those. But the chat room to the right of the YouTube stream, if you're watching on a laptop, also pretty easy to see on a phone. You can swipe up, ask a question on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Okay, we'll go to the break. This is 94.9, The Fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC. Can Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, Billy, let's cover a lot of ground in a quick amount of time. What's your first text?
First text is going back to Jeremy at the beginning of the show, and we were talking with Tony about Tennessee, comparing them to the 2022 team. He says, I disagree about this Tennessee team. from 2022. Way more talent on this roster.
Defensively, I would agree with him. Offensively,
no.
Running back wise, they're really good. So the Sampson kid's really good.
They were really good.
They were really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's you're right. And they won more games.
The Nico thing is, I think he's gotten better, and he looked better in the Kentucky game. I just wonder, can he be good enough for them to beat Georgia on the road and make the playoff? And maybe this is another big week for him against Mississippi State. Maybe he plays a lot better, but Kirby's going to have a lot of things cooked up for him.
I also think it's to Tennessee's advantage that Georgia has 2 Godzillas in a row.
Yeah, that's a good point.
At Ole Miss, and then here comes Tennessee, and oh, by the way, Florida gave them way more trouble than anybody thought they would. So
you know what, though? Here's the deal, though. If Nico needs to pray that Georgia beats Ole Miss, because if they don't, Georgia is going to be loaded for bear, Hoss, against Tennessee.
And he will be the target.
He will be the target.
If I'm a Georgia fan, I kind of want that. I want Ole Miss to beat. Well, in a weird way, I know you want to beat Ole Miss, but with a loss to Ole Miss, if you're Georgia, you could still make the playoff if you beat Tennessee.
You could, but is it guaranteed?
No, but
well, that's the problem.
I like a desperate Georgia team if I'm a Georgia fan.
Clay on line 1. Welcome.
How we doing, George?
Good. Hope you're doing good.
Am I working my way at least towards a nosebleed seat?
Oh, I think right now you're not a season ticket holder, but you're almost at Flex Pack.
I was going to say, have I reached my, maybe in the nosebleed on a Flex Pack or single game ticket, something like that.
You might get a free hot dog voucher, but certainly you're not at season ticket holder yet.
Billy, I listened to the press conference today. I said yesterday that, I was interested to hear what Clark said. Good news that Eli Stowers is fine. He said he had a headache Saturday night, but woke up Sunday morning feeling fine. I did want to ask you, since I'm sure you were probably there, I heard you ask a question, I think. Did anybody ask about, well, we know what the situation is with Pavia. Pavia's playing unless his leg is amputated, probably. They probably can't keep him off the field. But more importantly, I wondered about Cedric Alexander. Clark said they are cutting back practice, to kind of let some guys heal up a little bit if they can. They're doing everything they can to get mainly the offense, I guess, kind of back in gear and more healthy. But it sounded like overall, he feels pretty good about, where they're at, healthy and hopefully a little bit better. Sad news that Bradley Mann tore his ACL. I did not know that. He's a defensive lineman, correct?
Yeah, he started rotating in. He actually played a lot against Auburn. But it's a good point on Alexander. He started with a brace, ended up throwing it off in that first possession against Auburn. But Clark said that he's seeing a team that, they got the lag effect of a physical season right now. They're in a 6-game stretch. It's been one physical game after another, and you've got another really good defensive line, South Carolina, coming in Saturday night. You're right; they're pulling back the load in practice. At this point, Clay, it's a war of attrition for them. And I think with Pavia, he's a good leader for them. That's the right quarterback to have when you're just fighting, going to battle every weekend.
It's a miracle that he's upright. That kid is one tough kid. He may also be SEC Player of the Year if he doesn't watch out.
Yeah.
Clay, I got to run on that.
Panel. I wanted to ask kind of a panel question, and y'all can kick it around, and I'll get off here and let somebody else call. But in my opinion, since now I'm drawing a blank, is it Elko, the coach at A&M?
Yeah.
Yes.
With them losing, I think if the vote was taken, let's say tonight, I think hands down, Clark Lee is the coach of the year. And I just wondered what y'all thought about that. And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
I agree with that. I mean, after
who
last
else you
year,
gonna, yeah, I agree too.
The problem with that award is there are normally about 3 coaches in each league who have coach of the year kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a case for Elko, but you could also make a case that 3 conference wins at Vandy, that's like dog years.
yeah, and
That's true.
It's really what he did in the offseason. I mean, just making all those moves. That I was a little surprised to see him make all those moves.
What's your next text?
George, will Plaster make it to Lot 2 for a Vandy tailgate this season? Only 2 home games left, George. As Kelly said before week 1, let's go, Hall.
Let's ask the important question. Is there free food and free beverage?
Yes, I can confirm. I've been over there before.
Then there's a chance.
We know George is an ultimate moocher, so if there's food and drink and beverage, he'll be there.
That's all you got to say.
No, I said there's a chance. But no respectable media person turns down a freebie.
No.
Especially a world-class moocher, for sure.
By the way, the Spanish conjugation of the verb to be, I be, we be, freebie. Thank you.
Good, George.
You like that one.
Good
Tony
stuff.
in Nolensville, welcome.
Good afternoon, guys. I'll be quick. I know you're bumping up against the top of the hour and stuff. Every time all this playoff talks, George and Kelly, Billy, I don't know if you remember him, but every time we're doing all this playoff talks and what's going to go down tonight, I cannot help but think, and I watched it last week again, the man that had the vision, Roy Kramer. That is why we have the playoffs, and all of this talk is all because Roy Kramer had a vision of an SEC championship game, and everything else has fed off of that.
Tony,
and I just go ahead, George.
You want to hear something funny? I remember the day before the first one. What was that? Was that 90? Was it 91, 92?
91? 92
So,
was right.
I remember, think now how hard it is to get a couple of tickets. The tickets were a dime a dozen. I remember giving away 2 pairs on the air. And then I went to the game the next day. It was at Legion Field before they, condemned the upper deck. And they had a tornado. We were under a tornado watch during the game. And the next year, the same thing happened. December weather, a little too warm. You got all this stuff. And that's when they said, screw it, we're going to a dome. This is too good a deal to have weather blow it.
George, I have sat at an Iron Bowl with a tornado touching down on the ground in Birmingham. And nobody left the station. It was unbelievable. One quick thing, guys. I'm on little teaser here, a little golden nugget. With Pavia winning in back-to-back years at Auburn, do y'all know who the one other quarterback that has done that? That was a non-conference player. They won in back-to-back years at Auburn, and it was a non-conference team.
You better lay it on us. I can see from Kelly's look. I'm watching Kelly on the podcast. He gave me what I would describe as a blank stare.
1990-91, Brett Favre.
Brett Favre.
Oh,
wow.
Whoa.
Southern
wait a
Miss.
minute.
Southern Miss
Wait
beat
a
Auburn
minute.
back-to-back years?
I actually
Southern
did.
Miss beat Auburn back-to-back years in Auburn.
Yeah.
I saw it
wow.
6 times.
Tony, I actually did a game of Favre's when I was at Memphis State. And we played them in the Liberty Bowl. And even though I know we got to go to the break, here's how good a talent scout I was. I said to myself, he has a good arm. Hey, Tony, I got to run.
Georgie was almost killed in a car accident with a real bad single car accident too. So, but guys, I just wanted to throw that out there. Gonna let you go.
Take care. We'll go to the break. Plaster Bet of the Day is next, even if you don't breathlessly await it. This is 94.9, The Fan. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. The Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night is set for Monday, December the 2nd, here at the Strike and Spare Family Fun Center at 3436 Lebanon Pike. The proceeds go to two really worthy causes: Last Minute Toy Store and the Martha O'Brien Center. It costs $200, and it's a night of fun you'll never forget. If you'd like to be a part of it, simply email me at plastergeorge@gmail.com for a night you'll never forget.
Harrah's and reserve your room today. Indulge in appetizing dining experiences along with the hottest slots and table gaming. As a Caesars Rewards destination, every moment you spend at Harrah's Metropolis earns you points across the entire Caesars empire. It's your time to win at Harrah's Metropolis. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Tuesday, big day, election night. We've got some college basketball action. One to look out for, John Calipari's debut at Arkansas, Lipscomb. Yeah, at Arkansas.
Oh, that's right.
Keep an eye on the Bisons tonight. They've got a really good team. And they beat Duquesne, actually, last night up there in Pittsburgh.
They had Arkansas beat last year. Yeah, Duquesne. They had Arkansas beat last year and lost by 2, I think.
They did.
That was a good win for Lenny Acuff. Go up there.
Got some action tonight as well. So we'll see where George is going with Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Let's take a look at what happened last night. The Chiefs did not cover the 8.5. That was a lot. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, a lot of lumber.
Anytime you see that 9 number show up in the NFL,
it's hard to make it work. Baker led them on a really good drive
he made it
late.
Work.
Yeah.
I hate they lost. I wanted him. He needed that. They needed that. Chiefs didn't need it. I mean,
the Falcons needed it.
Yeah. Well, I thought Todd Bowles just screwed them over.
I would have gone for it, but it's easy to sit here in this chair.
That's right.
But I do think, Kelly, that I would want my team to let me know if we get in this position, what do you all want to do?
That's correct. I mean, that's we're all in it together. When it boils down to it, everybody says, well, coaching is a dictatorship. Well, that's not really true. We're all in this thing together. We're all in it to win. And at some point, you need your leadership people on the team say, hey, if we get in that situation again, let's don't even think about it. Let's go for 2.
See, that's what's unfortunate, though, about Plaster Bet of the Day is we're not all in this together. Okay?
That's correct.
Even though
you screw up.
Even though he won't say it, Billy is rooting against me. Kelly, with absolutely shameless what he says. When you hear that, you say to yourself, that's not a team player.
I'm not a team player with you. I want you to lose every bet. I don't want the people out there. I don't want them to get messed up by your bet, but I want you to lose.
Which reminds me of a time when I used to do gifts to the people. A guy called in and he said, I really enjoy this segment. Thank you very much. Why is that? He goes, after I hear your stuff, I call my bookie and I go the other way, and it works out great. Well, that's not the case tonight. We've got Maction. The key phrase.
I like this.
Once you go Mac, you can never go back. Ball State. We saw Ball State a couple of weeks ago play pretty darn good against Vandy. They're at home. They are a 12-point dog. And you know what? I am taking my buddy Mike New, the head coach at Ball State, and they're going to cover. How's that?
Kelly loves it.
Yeah. Kelly, nice of you to be with us.
Whatever, George. Good luck.
Yeah.
Beat it. Do the Michael Jackson and beat it.
Same to you. Hey, all of you have a better attitude than Kelly. It doesn't take much. See you tomorrow.
See ya.